Hello, everybody. We do
Good
apologise for the rather late start tonight, but we are having all manner of technical issues tonight with the streaming service. It doesn't seem to want to play ball for some reason, so...
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I'm not quite sure what's going on at the moment, really.
Yeah, so apologies if things get a bit bitty tonight. We have been, like I say, we're a bit late trying to get launched tonight because of streaming service problems. And every time we try and load things up, you know, like this evening when we load pictures up that you can look at, they're not loading for some reason, and it's really quite annoying. So we'll just have to wing it for the moment.
Yeah, and after Thursday, when my computer booted me out and didn't really want me back in, it's been all sorts. In fact, I've had issues with, and now my Alexa's talking to me. It is just, I have no idea what's going on. In actual fact, I've had to report to Apple issues that I've had with some of the pages not loading properly, which I've just done. So I'm really hoping it stays stable. Please stay stable, at least for an hour. That's all I want. And then I'll turn you off and then we'll get back to normal. Technology, John, that's what it is. See, we don't have this when we're sticking together little plastic kits, do we?
Well, mostly, yeah. Mostly.
Mainly.
Right. Let's just have a quick chat tonight about projects we are working on. So where are you with your projects at the moment?
Well, I'm no further down the line with anything than I was on Thursday when I showed off that fine molds kit. The last few weekends, normally what I do, anybody that sort of follows these pages, I'm a bit like John. When it's football season, we tend to listen to the football, don't we, on the Saturday, and do a little bit of modelling, stay in the workshop, do all of that kind of nonsense. And as it's an international break, and let's face it, nobody's really interested in the international teams, are they? No. I haven't really sort of done that. So yesterday, I pretty much did nothing. I sat in front of the TV and watched Thin Blue, like what am I watching?
In Line of Duty.
The Line of Duty. That's what I'm watching. Thank you. I've watched so much of it. I've watched 3 series in the last 3 days with Elizabeth. We've basically cannonballed most of it, and we're trying to catch up. It is one of the greatest TV programs ever, I think. Binge watching. So I've been binge watching The Line of Duty, which is quite spectacular. So I haven't really done very much other than the fine molds phantoms, which we talked about. My opinion on those hasn't really changed too much, but I have sort of settled on those. But if I can be self-indulgent, Mr. Jonathan Mock, who also seems to have various electronic devices in his workroom.
My compressor's decided to join in, so
this is honestly, this is turning into the Morecambe and White show.
Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? Right? It's because tonight we're talking about phantoms. I reckon the technology here is getting a bit it's getting a bit poltergeisty, isn't it?
It is. And also, for the first time in a very long time, if you look through my window here, it's not actually dark yet. And so we have what is commonly known in the trade as spring leading into summer, which I know that John is a particular fan of. When the lights,
do you know what? I was anticipating this, so I rehearsed. I spontaneously have come up with a response to that, and that is, I kind of at this time of the year now, I am looking forward to the warmer weather. I think everything is kind of reaction with me, and then when you kind of get through the really hot days of summer, that's when I'm kind of like, oh, I really wish it was kind of colder again. But right now, I'm done with cold weather. I'd like some warm weather, please, just for a week.
Just to kind of get out into the garden so that we can do some stuff. So it's all a little bit poltergeisty tonight, as we will see in a few minutes. But yes, several weeks ago, I discussed my new book. And how my new book is on the Starfighter, which you should all know by now. And it's due out in April. I did suggest that amongst the things I'd already settled on, which many of you have already seen, there would be an additional chapter within the book. And there is indeed going to be an additional chapter within the book, which may or may not only be available for the first cluster of orders. Not sure yet. See how that pans out. But I can now reveal what that new edition is going to be, if John will allow. So this is what is going to be in the book, which will be my additional chapter on top of the Starfighters that I've already done.
Oh, yes, it had to be done though, hadn't it?
Okay, and despite the fact that Italeri have re-released this kit as a 2021 reissue, this is the original 1983 edition of this kit. So the book will include the original Eschi release of their 112th F104 cockpit. I know somebody who's sitting pretty much this side of me will be very excited by the idea that I'm going to do an Eschi kit within this. And also something that ties in with kind of what I've been doing around this. There's a photograph in the instructions of this book. These are the instructions, as you can see, instruction sheet for this kit, which is a very nice kit. But there's a photograph, this one here. And if you can read who took the photograph,
Francois Verlinden.
It is a certain Francois Verlinden. So Francois Verlinden is also part and parcel of this project.
His
which I thought
DNA is
his DNA is all over this. I have to say, for anybody that's not seen one of these kits before, and we presumably will take a look at the reissue when it arrives.
I've never seen inside the boxes. I've never seen them at all.
So we can be a little bit indulgent tonight, can't we, John? Because we're a bit more freewheeling on this particular show. This is the inside of the box.
Right.
And you can see from this how big this thing is. Because that is the cockpit tub. So you can kind of see it's quite a big kit. But for something that was produced in 1983, and I'm currently building the Macava, which is from that era, for something that is essentially nearly 40 years old, this thing is magnificent, I have to say, and would have been eye-watering when it came out. You can kind of, if I put up, that's the instrument panel. And this essentially is the runner that deals with smaller details, which include switches, which are individual parts on this. So you can see here, these are individual little switches. This thing is just amazing for something that was produced back then. Those are the side consoles. So I'm really pleased that Italeri have taken the time to re-release this kit, because I think it gives a whole new generation of modelers a chance to put one of these cockpit sets together. They did an F-16 cockpit as well as the F-104. They only did 2 of them. And I think the F-104 is due out. I'm not sure whether the F-16 one is due out or whether both of them are. Certainly one or other of them. The kit also included fabric seat straps, which you cut out, which then interlock with individual belt buckles on this thing. I can't stress enough how much this kit must have been groundbreaking when it first came out, when it was released. I never had one of these when it came out in '83. You certainly didn't, did you? We'd never seen them.
Never seen them.
So the first time I got my hands on one of these was thanks to Tony Burke, who gave me this last summer. He was clearing out his loft, and he had both this one and the F-16 one, which he gave to me. I've got both of those kits, and I just couldn't wait to have a look inside the box. They are quite extraordinary things. So if you get a chance and you want something that's a little bit different, I would really recommend you have a go at this, because even now, thick end of 40 years on, I doubt whether you'll see too many kits of this ilk that are as detailed as this. Really, really extraordinary. And given that they are 1/12, you can add immense amounts of detail to them, and you know, I mean, I would imagine that somebody before now has even added one of the sidewalls so that you've got it enclosed.
Well, am I mistaken in thinking in one of the Verlinden books that he mentioned that somebody was going to scratch build the rest of the airplane to go with it?
Yes, he did say that. He mentions in one of the books because he must have been part and parcel of this project. In one of the books he builds the F-16 cockpit, and he says that they couldn't build the F-104 because it wasn't ready at the time. But he does, almost in passing, as if it's just like, oh well, this just happens to be the case. He mentions that one of his friends was building a 12th scale F-104 simply to use the cockpit, which seems an extraordinary thing to do, and would be an enormous model. I mean, truly massive. I'm thinking it would be 4 foot, maybe, I would think, tip to tip. A 24 scale one would be, I mean, the 32nd scale one's what, 18 inches, something like that, or 15 inches. So yeah, it would be about 4.5 foot, but it would look extraordinary if somebody was to have a go at that. So I hope you guys all approve that that's what I'm going to do. I'm pretty sure that John will.
I approve. Certainly
approve that. I've gone down the Eschi route, and it does certainly warm my cockles to think that a range of kits that both of us adore, don't we? Yeah. And in fact, on winging its way to you as we speak via the local mail service within the UK is a kit that I know that you've wanted for about that many years.
Yeah, that little Skoda tank.
That little Skoda. So hopefully that will be with you tomorrow. I sent it first class snail mail, but I'm sure that it'll be with you tomorrow. So you can perhaps have a little looky see at that on Wednesday when we.
Well, we've got some photographs and stuff that we've put up on the page, but I tell you what, I get the feeling I'll be building 2 of them, because as much as I'd like to build a grey one, there is a rather funky camouflage one in there as well, which looks like that's going to be because it's a hard edge scheme as well. It looks like that's going to be a bit of fun, good old fashioned brush painting with a camouflage.
Indeed. I was surprised when I saw the kit how small it is. It's really tiny.
Oh, it's literally it's a tiny little thing. But looking at the photographs of the photographs you sent me, it's in remarkable condition. But then again, it hasn't been in production for the best part of 40 years. So, you know,
anyway. I think you'll really like it.
Oh yeah, trust me, I'll really like it.
And the thing is, I'm sure we're going to discuss Eschi at some point.
So we'll be Eschi loving night.
We are going to discuss Eschi and how often we're probably going to point out as well how Eschi is actually an acronym. So if you write it in an article, capital E, lowercase SCI. That is in actual fact incorrect, because it is in fact an acronym and should be all uppercase. So
like
please,
frog.
Like frog, please, model makers, when you're writing up articles about Eschi, please write it in capitals.
Do you know what? I'm you see you doing starfighters, and I think to myself, yeah, I really would still like to. There are a number of Eschi aircraft kits which were so ubiquitous in the 1980s that they bored the pants off of me, but now I want to build them.
Yes.
And that is the I'd like to build the F4JS Phantom, the one that came with the Royal Air Force markings. I would like to build one of their F104s, and also one of their keep quiet because I know Tim's watching, one of their F16s as well.
Actually, I have an F16 for you.
Oh.
I have the European 72nd scale F16, which I did promise you. And in fact, if I'd have remembered, I could have put it in the box on Friday. But I completely forgot. But it's the one that's got the
Norwegian.
Think it might have Norwegian markings.
Red finned one.
Possibly. It's or maybe the one that's got the Israeli markings in. It's that.
I'm happy.
But it's certainly for you. I had a look at the kit. It is really nice, and I think people sort of forget when Eschi were on up there on their absolutely on their game. they were one of the very best manufacturers on the planet.
Wow.
At that point.
Dave Fleming makes the comment. He says, "Pity they only did a couple of these cockpits. I'd have loved a Sea Harrier. Eshi got their tooling designed in Japan at that point. Yes, they did, because kits like the Sea Harriers, the F5s, the F104s, the F100s. Trying to think what else there was from that particular period. I mean, they were world beaters. They were absolutely the top of their game at that time.
I remember Francois saying that he'd been to the Eshi factory. He'd actually visited the factory. Not long, I think, before they started to sort of close down. He said there were tools in there for kits that were never released by Eshi. And one of them was the 48 scale F-15 Eagle, which I don't believe entered their range. But Italeri have a 48 scale F-15 in their range now. He said that tool was complete and ready to go as an Eshi kit, but Eshi decided at the time they weren't going to release it. He said there were a number of Eshi kits that were on the shelves, that the tools were all ready to go, and that he was shown, and they were planned, but never got released. So it'd be interesting to know if there was anything else at that period. But when you think back at some of the kits that they released, the helicopter kits in particular, the Bell 205 was a very good example. Bolko 105 was another one, and also the UH1. All really nice kits, and what they did, something that was kind of ahead of the game, really. They maximized molds from, didn't they? So they would produce a core kit, and then they would release a bunch of others. The Mackie 226, is it? And the Atlas that they did were from a thing. But I think we're going to look at Eshi, aren't we? We're going to take a
I think we'll save that.
We're going to deep dive into that.
Yeah, I think tonight so. we need to head into the world of the supernatural. Right, that's enough of the ghost metaphors. I'm bored with them now. Plus I've got to do ghost stories tonight, so I'm getting confused which show I'm on, quite frankly. Let us dive headlong into the fact that, yes, indeedy, we have got a white box turned up here, and the white box contained a Tamiya 48 scale F4B Phantom. Now, I think some of you may have seen the pop-up live that I did during the week. And since then, I've been taking lots and lots of photographs, some of which we put up on the Facebook page, but there's going to be a shed load more going up after the show. So without further ado, let's dive in and talk about this kit. And hopefully you can see all these images on the screen, because we're trying a new system here tonight. First of all, fuselage halves. This has been clarified for me now, because I was kind of like winging it on Friday when I got the kit. What you're looking at here is they've molded the port side of the fuselage complete, but they've molded the starboard side of the fuselage. Let me just see if I can go full screen here a second to get rid of that annoying little sidebar. Is that okay? Is that still there? Yeah, there we go. You can see that they've molded the port fuselage full, but the starboard fuselage, they've broken it at the nose. Now, I was just kind of like, I wonder why they've done that. The answer came back, and it's obvious when you think about it. That is to facilitate different versions that don't have the refueling probe. So I think instantly this is pointing to the fact that, you know, that even at this first part of the kit, it's pointing to the fact that Tamiya clearly have more variants down the line. They are tooling it for more variants down the line. Whether they release them or how quickly they release them is something that only people still waiting for a 2-seat F-16 are probably asking. But as you can see there, that is why that fuselage is done in that particular way, because what they'll do is that space that you can see to the side there, that will be where the gate is for a non-refueling probe forward fuselage. So that's as befits the interesting modeling company. That's interesting. So that's where we're starting off with that. Underside of the fuselage, underside of the wing rather, and you can instantly see there just the incredible amount of detail there is in this kit with the surface details and everything. It is, it's phenomenal. It really is. And I got to say, I'm not really a fan of the Phantom. It's an aeroplane I'm a bit about. But boy, I definitely want to build one of these. It is absolutely sumptuous. What you might be able to see there in that picture, and I think we've got a close-up photograph later on, is that they haven't skimped on the fact that if you don't want to include the sparrows, that they have put all that inner detail into the recess for the sparrows. So, you know, that's the level of thought that's gone into this kit. Those are the upper wing halves, and as you see, they've broken them so that you can fold the wings. And the are they flaps or ailerons? I always get it wrong on this one. I think they're control surfaces. The control surfaces there are separate, and again, you can probably make out some of the surface detail. Problem with this really, really pale plastic is it's very difficult to photograph and get the surface detail to pop out. But there's a close-up. Look at that. Isn't that just wow? Exactly. It really is, you know, people who are quibbling about the cost of this kit, it's all there. It's all up on the screen, as they say. And there we go. That's the close-up of that recess of the sparrow. And I don't know about you, but that's pretty spectacular, isn't it?
It is. There are a number of things that have jumped out at me looking at the photographs of this kit. That Tamir have taken the time to address certain things, and we will see those things as we go through the photographs. You're right about the breakdown of the fuselage. That's the cleverest way I've seen of the fuselage being broken down that allows this different variants to be produced. Air Force variants included, with that lack of a refueling probe, because they could have taken the simpler route of producing two halves, two normal fuselage halves, and then a filler plate to go into that area. However, there's some delicate detail around that plate that would have been destroyed by filling it and sanding it. The other thing that they've done, and you can see it within the photograph of the underside, the main wing section, is that this kit offers you foldable wing tips. On most Phantoms that we've seen, including the fine molds Phantom that I'm currently building, separate wing tips, or rather outer wing panels, we'll call them that, the anhedral wing panels, or dihedral wing panels, I guess they are, go through a castellated piano hinge, for want of a better description, on the underside of the wing, and often that panel breaks through the piano hinge. Now, what Tamir have done is that they've included, and you can see it, you can see it there. They've included two options. One to have the wings folded and one to have the wings out. And instead of giving you small hinges that fit just into slots into those two sections, they break them down so that individual panels fit on the underside of the wing and follow the break of panel lines within those two areas, inner and outer. And what that gives you, not only does that give you perfect strength for those panels should you want them folded, and frankly, between you, me, and the gatepost, and nobody's watching this, is there? I don't think anybody's watching. No. Why on earth you would want to break up the shape of a Phantom by folding the wingtips? I don't really know.
Because it's a Navy aeroplane, and Navy aeroplanes should always, by requirement, should have folded wings.
Really?
Next.
Do people do that? They don't.
Next slide, please.
So anyway, but so you can see this obviously is the folded section, but they've also given you that panel that goes underneath each of the wings that then has the full castellated hinge with it underside, so there is no break. What that means is that when the wings are out and they're in their spread version, that hinge line is perfect. I've not seen that done to the degree of finesse that Tamir have done it in this kit in any other Phantom kit. And I include Zukimura within that as well. It is such a clever idea. It is brilliant.
Just dial back a bit. There we go. Oops, Daisy. Let's just dial back a bit more to. There we go. That's the interior of the speed brake, air brake. Call it what you will. Flap. Is that a flap or no? It's a flap, isn't it?
That's that's one of the air brakes.
Air brakes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long day, people.
So,
but again, you can see just the amount of detail they've popped in there.
the other thing as well with this that you'll notice from John's I noticed this when I had a look at it, is that the wings are molded solid. The underwing panel is molded solid. The openings for the underwing pylons, tanks, and that kind of thing are not open on this, which opens up some intriguing possibilities for this kit. Firstly, although they offer you pylons, often Navy Phantoms, almost more often than not, didn't fly with those outer wing pilot with those outer wing tanks. If you look at Navy Phantoms, certainly F4Bs flying during Vietnam, they'd have the centerline tank, and they would have the inner pylons with the sidewinders on, and then bomb racks, multiple ejector racks a lot of the times, including a number of the variants that are in this kit, including the one that we'll discuss later on. But they're not open. But that also opens up the possibility that you could do, without changing the kit in any way, if they were to bring out later variants, do a Blue Angels aircraft from this that didn't need the opening. So that's an interesting thing. There are lots of little pointers within the kit that send you down. Yes, they're going to do this version. Yes, they're going to do this version. They're going to do this version. If you can scroll through, John, there's another thing that I noticed on this. Do you have a photograph of the fin?
We will come to the fin. It's coming up fairly soon in a second. So we've got the inside of the speed brake there, air brake rather, which again, you know, a couple of ejection pin marks there, but you know. Yeah,
you'd probably be able to get rid of those with a fiberglass pencil.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing. That's nothing. Two types of nose sensors as well.
Yep.
So again, that's catering for these. That's just some of the intake trunk, but they do give you quite deep intake trunking on this.
Yep.
I've forgotten what that bit is, but just look at the detail.
Those are the panels for the underside, from what I've seen.
That's right.
The underside of the tailplanes.
That's it. Yep. Two types of tailplane. We've got the standard non-slatted type, or slotted type, and then they also do the ones with the leading edge slats as well.
Yeah.
Again, and also they're paired. And what the idea is that you put them in place, then you drop a panel down on top of them, which sets them in place. Means you can't deflect them at an angle. But, well, you can, but you just have to kind of do a bit of a homebrew mod on that. But again, surface detail on that is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
There we go. Leading edge of the fin.
Yep.
Tailplane, rather. They've molded that separately with single piece radome by the way. Those are the outer wing drop tanks with a separate bottom. There's a mix on these of raised and recessed detail as well. Some of the detail for the jet pipes, for the exhausts, which are, again, rather than just go for a pair of cans, they have broken these down to get the maximum amount of detail, including separate petals as well, which, you know, is going to make painting this and breaking this down and getting all those kinds of different patinas that much easier. Wheel detail there, again, just, you know, absolutely brimming with detail inside of the exhaust petals as well. We'll get to the fin in a minute, don't worry. That's more exhaust detail. I mean, I'm exhausted, haha. We got a pilot, get a pair of pilots actually, because these sprues are duplicated. Some of the ejection seat detail. Those are the outer wing panels. Those are the upper outer wing panels. Sidewinders are broken down so that you can do the G and the H versions with different noses. Those are the Sparrows. Those are the separate sidewinder noses. Basic cockpit tub. Those are the splitter plates with all those perforation details on there. Some, you know, which again is just, that's an incredible feat of, you know, molding on that. Intakes, Some of the cockpit detail, sway braces there as well. The refueling probe for the Navy version. Aha! Now we finally get there. The fin.
Right. You can't quite see it in this shot, but you can almost see it. Tamiya have moulded the intake that's at the base of the fin on both halves of these two pieces. These are two halves of the fin. You can see that the intake, which would be clad over with the leading edge, which is a separate part, is molded on both pieces, upper and lower. You can see that in this shot. This is another area that Tamiya have been extraordinarily clever with this kit. In that, without having to create two new parts, they have been able to create different variants for this kit. Because what you do is you remove one of these pieces from the base of the fin. You just cut it away. And then the leading edge part sits over the top of it. That's an extraordinary clever piece of design from Tamiya. It is so simple. You wonder why nobody else has bothered to do that. So it's just, you put a scalpel through it, cut it off, the piece that you don't need. And the two pieces are different. They are, from what we can see, they are different in design. I really liked the way that works, and everything within this kit, from what we've seen of the photographs, everything within this kit breaks on panel lines, much in the same way that it broke on panel lines with the F-14 Tomcat. And what that means is there are chances, I suppose, to be able to build and paint modular pieces, one of which is the fin. The fin, I'm thinking, should be able to be assembled fully and painted separately and then just slotted into place. Because you get a huge tab, don't you, on the top of the fuselage? Where you can just slide the fin onto the top of it. I would imagine that the fit of the parts is so good that you'll be able to drop that on without glue as well. You know, and we did the same thing. Both you and I have built the Tomcat. You could do the same thing with the Tomcat. You could slide, you could paint the wings separately and just slide them on. In fact, I think both of my all three of my Tomcats that I built, the wings aren't glued on. I think they're just slid into place. So that's a really neat design idea, isn't it?
Here's some of the cockpit interior, which, you know, this is kind of aftermarket levels of detail we're approaching here. I mean, you know, as and when I get around to building one, I'm not going to be adding anything to it. I think that is more than perfectly adequate for most people's needs. But yeah, look at that. I think the only worry with that is getting the best out of all that detail, because that really is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Instrument panel combing. Again, this is an area where Tamiya, you know, some kit companies would just provide you with a basic shape. Tamiya have gone in there and they've looked at the real thing and they've added some of those neat little details, which just, you know, absolutely superb. Underside of the nose, again, with more of those kind of details for the sparrow bays, the air vents and everything. And I'm pretty much going to stick my neck out and say that from the experience of building every single Tamiya aircraft kit in the last 5 years, that's just going to slot in, follow panel lines, and you're not going to even know that's there. A bit like the F-14 forward fuselage that had that satisfying kind of click when you popped it in place.
When you just slid it into place,
but you didn't even know it was a separate piece.
Well, mine was built and painted as a separate part. I painted that F-14 on all of the F-14s that I built as sub-assemblies, and all I did. In fact, the nose on the models that I built, the only thing holding the nose in place are the Phoenix pallets. And I put a drop of glue at the front end and the back end, and put them in place, and that's what holds the nose in place. And I remember at the time we talked about this. I remember people saying, "I cannot believe that you're painting all the nose and the rear fuselage apart. You're going to get a joint on that." And I went, "Yeah, I am going to get a joint. Watch." And it slipped in, and it was a panel line, and everybody went, "Oh." Yes,
that was one of Drew's favourite things with when he was building his, was just to go, watch this.
click. And do you
Watch
remember?
this. Click.
And there was that wonderful moment where you glued. There's a panel around the opening for the Vulcan cannon on that, and the first time you cut it out and you just dropped it into place and then applied some glue around it. Capillary action took the glue around it. I remember just buffing it over with some micro mesh and going, right, I can't actually see where that panel is now.
Yeah.
It just looks like it was molded as part of the nose. And you're right what you say. You and I have been fortunate that we've done all of the latest ones. 109. I've done the 109, the Spitfire, the P-38 Lightning, the F-14 Tomcat. You know, and every single one of them literally falls to pieces. And I don't care what anyone else says. I do stick my neck out. There are no other manufacturers on the planet that build aircraft models that have the level of tolerance that Tamiya do. They do things with the fit on their aircraft that just almost defies logic. Really, it's just extraordinary how they managed to do it. It's brilliant.
This is a slightly ghostly image. It's all gone a bit kind of blurry there. Yeah, I think right, everybody at this stage, put your 3D glasses on. But okay, that one's a bit blurry. But again, that does show you how that fin is broken down.
Yeah.
Centerline drop tank. Now again, you can see here, quel horreur! There are actually raised panel lines and bits and pieces on this, but it's on the real thing. So
that's strengthening ribs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or weld beads, I would think.
Now this, I'm going to be talking to our resident tooling person this week for his insight as to why they would mold, not why they would mold the guards over the top of the clear parts, because that's quite obvious, but why they would mold such extraordinarily long runners on this. In any event, you can see that they've molded part of the forward fuselage with the windscreen so that you have an absolutely seamless installation on the model. Frankly, I think that's how everybody should do windscreens on kits from here on in. And also, the canopies do have a very faint mold part line down the middle from the slide molding, but they also do have that very subtle double bubble appearance to them as well. For lazy people like myself, we haven't got the picture. For lazy people like myself, they also do just a single piece for that rear canopy. And final picture, we have this shows some of the kind of industrial plating that goes on the exhaust area, and it is like this. I've crawled all over the Royal Navy one at Yeovilton, and the rears of these Phantoms are literally built like ships. And again, you've got all those, you've got all that kind of riveting and plating detail. It is, we'll just flick back through the pics to the beginning again, but it is quite, I'm not a fan of the Phantom. It's not an aeroplane that kind of greatly interests me. And we've lost it. It's not working through StreamYard now. It's not an aeroplane that really interests me that much. But you can you come across a kit where even though the subject matter doesn't interest you, the kit does, and that does that. I'm looking forward to building one. Unfortunately, I don't get to keep this particular one because this one has to go off to other people. But we will be getting a production kit at some stage. I know. We're just it's just ships in the night. This, but
we do have to thank Mr. Farmer.
Yeah,
we
do have to thank the hobby company for letting us have a look at this one of these white box previews. There are no decals in the sample we had. In fact, everybody who's got a white box, I don't think any of them have got decals in them. The schemes that are in there, and I'm just calling it up from the instruction sheet here, they are all, surprise, surprise, they're all gold, grey and white, but they are VF-51 Screaming Eagles. They are VF-111 Sundowners and VF-161 Chargers. So I think I'm going to be doing a Sundowners one if I get the chance.
I had a look actually at those when I saw that picture you posted. All of those schemes are in here. And anybody's got this book, there are some really nice photographs of all of the choices within within this book, so you'll be able to sort of see them in a little bit more detail. I have to say, from the ones that are in there, the Chargers one's really nice. The Chargers one, it has got a black tail and a flash running down the fuselage, and then a red and white lightning bolt on the fin. That's quite a nice scheme. So yeah, the choices are quite varied, quite nice. They're obviously overall gloss gold grey and white. So light gold grey and white. So yeah, it's a good choice. But seeing it's nice to have seen the photographs that you've taken of these and get a good impression of what this thing looks like. It's such a no-brainer for Tamiya to have done a Phantom. It makes you wonder, you know, why they haven't done it in 48 before. But actually, I'm pleased that they left it until 2021, because they're bringing their A game to their aircraft kits at the moment. And you know, as nice as some of the older kits are, the ones that they're producing at the minute, I would rather Tamiya produced one 48 scale aircraft kit a year and did this to it than went out and produced loads of them and half-hearted it. This is going to be, people are going to go mental when they see this thing.
Well, they pretty much are only doing one 48 scale aircraft kit a year at the moment, aren't they? But,
pretty much, yeah. But look at what they do.
This is quality over quantity. Yeah, I kind of, you know, when I opened the box, I just thought, well, it's going to be impressive, but I'm going to be left unmoved. No, I was profoundly impressed to the point that, yes, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I want to build one, and I want to build one with the wings folded, and I can't wait to get. It's got to be done. Got to be done. They're Navy aeroplanes. That's the point. They have the. I always remember when HMS 20 years ago, actually 21 years ago, HMS Invincible was sailing, Illustrious rather, was sailing past Battery Point here, and there was a crowd of people there, and I unfortunately got stuck next to Boring Dad. And Boring Dad was telling his boys everything about HMS Illustrious, and it got to the stage where as they're coming along, and he was going, honestly, he was like a character from the Far Show, and he goes, "Oh, now pay attention, Toby. If you look very carefully as it sails by, you'll be able to see the aircraft with their wings folded." And honestly, I actually laughed out loud at that point. They're Sea Harriers, for goodness sake, you know.
See, that's one of the great things about the Sea Harrier, amongst many great things about the Sea Harrier, that they didn't ruin that perfect shape by having silly folded wings.
No, we got to do it wings. Anyway, look,
I'm trying to think how many Navy aeroplanes I've made over the years. I don't think it's that many, to be honest. So a few Tomcats, a couple of Phantoms, Sea Fury. I didn't even fold the wings on the Hellcat. I must have a bit of a thing about not folding wings on models.
Yeah. No, I think a little fun. But anyway, big thank you to the hobby company for letting us have that kit for inspection, and we will be looking forward to getting a full production sample, hopefully very, 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 very soon, and then you know, and then hopefully photographs will start appearing on the Interesting Modelling Co Facebook page. So let's just have a quick whiz through some of the comments here and say hello to everybody. So here we go. Big intake of breath and say hello to John Patrick Houston, Rob Herring, Paul Milligan, Darren McGuinness, Pravel Krupovich, Mark Ryan, Ian Rusco, Gary Woodbridge, Rob Monfee, Jerry Doyle, Brian Wilton. I keep saying Willerton because it's a railway station on the West Somerset Railway. Sorry, Brian. Stephen Pryor, Dave Swindle, Stuart Brenner, Tim Cavalier, Ian Goldstraw, Ian Rusco, Jim Carswell, Russell Callaghan, Dave Coward, Jadlam Racing Models, hello to everybody at Jadlam, David Mummery, Claudio Saran Biondi, Douglas Hunter, Damien Mullen, Moz 6510 Models, Michael Scott, Bill Clark, Dave Fleming, Tim Maunder, Johan Olivier, Chris Alliong, scrolling down, Jack FM, FH rather, FM or medium wave, scrolling down, Steve Moores, Lars Jensen. Lars Jensen had a guess at what schemes are going to be included, and he was pretty much nearly there. Mike Reeves, hello, Mike, who no doubt will be doing bits and pieces for this kit at some stage. This chap, don't know who he is. You're welcome. Just another staggering piece of tooling, isn't it? It is, Mr. Farmer. It certainly is. And yeah, can't wait to really build a proper one now.
Tim Alexander Maunder, Timothy, hello, has put, you folded the wing on the Corsair. I did indeed. On Tamiya's 32nd scale Corsair, I folded a wing. And the reason I only folded one wing on that model is if you fold both wings, you can't see inside the cockpit very well. That's why. And when you've got them, I mean, with the Phantom, you're only folding the tips, aren't you? It's kind of, Sukhoi 30s are like that as well, aren't they? The carrier version is, if it's the 30 or the 35, I lose track of how many of those flankers they've been made. They're all essentially the same, aren't they? All those jets. They're only the tips. I'm going to get drummed out of the modern aircraft SIG, aren't I, at this rate, for being so blasphemous towards various airplanes. So there we are. Yes, and Pavel is quite right. Sierras they can indeed be stacked vertically. Quite right.
Very good. Shall we? We're actually just about coming up. Actually, now just come up to the end of the show, really, because in terms of the technical problems we had this evening. Would you like to
discuss then, in that case, another kit that we've been given, or are you going to do that tomorrow?
Well, I'll tell you what. Shall I blitz through the two Zvezda kits that have turned up here?
Yes, because I think we've talked about these before, haven't we?
We have. The show. Just bear with me. I'm just going to call up the images. We're trying a new system here tonight, everybody. So bear with us, because it means, because StreamYard doesn't allow you to load lots and lots of pictures. It kind of thing is. So anyway, let's share screen. Here we go. It's a peek behind the curtain. This right. I think we can all see that. Bingo. There we go. Can we all see that?
Yes, indeed.
Most we can. Let's just see if we can go full screen. Can we all still see that?
Yes.
Is that good? Right. We've had two Zvezda kits turn up this week. One of which is the 35th scale Typhoon K armored vehicle, which we've said looks like something that's come straight out of Jerry Anderson's UFO. We took some sprue photographs this afternoon. It's a big old model, and it's a heavy box. It's almost just short of a kilogram. So
wow.
I know exactly. So because there are several sprues are duplicates. So we have. I think we talked about this in depth before, but now we can actually look at the sprues. You can see there the entire side sections of the body are molded in one piece. There's the sprue for various bits of the body parts. We'll have some close-up photographs in a second. There's the underside and the upper half as well. So you pretty much can build, the shell of the vehicle in large single pieces, which is good. Then we have, these are duplicate sprues, which give you all the interior seating and the wheels and the suspension and doors and bits and pieces like that, and other details. Then we have another sprue with some more exterior details. And you get some vinyl tires, which some people will like, some people won't like. But it's ironic that the one thing that people don't like in kits is the one thing is actually the same as the actual real vehicle, which is rubber tires. But
I'm a little bit. I kind of like vinyl tires, to be honest. I don't sort of. I know part of their sort of I guess ill-gotten reputation is that over time that they can degrade, and they don't, they're difficult to clean up the seam lines and all of that sort of stuff. But I do quite like them, and these look pretty good, don't they? And they look like that with weathering and scuffing them in sort of prototypical fashion, that they would look pretty good. Also, there are replacements that inevitably there are replacements.
Yeah, will we?
I do find a little bit. I do resent spending another 20 quid on a set of wheels for a 30-odd pound kit when there's perfectly. But then I guess that's just the way I look at them. But I have to say, from the photographs you've published of this model that I've seen, there's an extraordinary level of detail in this kit.
Well, we haven't finished. Right. And actually, these do have Michelin logos on them and everything. They are really quite. Wow. They're going to look fabulous under a sludge wash. But let's move on. Get a sprue of clear parts. The hand doesn't come with it, unfortunately.
No.
A very nice decal sheet with various bits and pieces.
I noticed there's no shadow markings on that sheet.
No shadow markings. You do also get a sheet of chrome for the wing mirrors, which is rather nice. Exactly. and a sheet of mesh as well for some of the kind of like exhaust screens and things. So there we go. And this is just like a close-up of some of the details you can expect in this kit. Zvezda really are bringing their, their game up these days. I mean, I built that Sherman. I've talked about it before, but that Sherman was really quite an extraordinary kit. Just almost Tamiya-like levels of detail and fit. And that's some of the axle detail there, some of the underside detail. I mean, as you can see, they are really piling on the detail. That's the upper hull section, whatever you want to call it, the upper body section. Some of the interior parts and a couple of the exterior parts there as well. That's the axle. Now, some kits, in the past would mold axles in various kind of sections that you have to interlock and put together. Zvezda have just gone, I'll do it in one piece, which I admire them for, because that makes life easier. And again, you can just see the sheer level of detail. And some of these parts are almost like 10 times size up here.
Do we have you've seen the instructions? Is there the way that the chassis is built up? Is there any possibility to change the angle of the wheels on that, or are we stuck with them?
Not entirely sure. I will try and bring up the instruction sheet in a second. There's the interior of the door there with some of the handles. That's part of the interior and some of the side chassis detail.
Yeah, the chassis looks like it's a kit in itself.
Yeah. Oh, you are going to be spending quite a time on this. It is quite remarkable the amount of detail there is in this kit. As far as I know, and I think Mr. Farmer may correct me here, but I think the retail price for this is something like about £34.
That seems extraordinary.
I'm just going to double check that.
For what you get in the box, a kilo of plastic and as a kit, 35 quid. That's an extraordinary value for money kit.
In fact, our good friends at Jadlam have this on their website at £35.99. So
brilliant.
It is really quite an eyeful. We've put the photographs will be going up on the Facebook page, and I will double check. I can't do it at the moment, but I will. We will do it at the moment. What the hell? We've got the technology to do it. So Zvezda are Typhoon K, because we can bring up the instruction sheet actually. So bear with me. Like I say, we're trying lots of new things here today. There we go. Right, this is the instruction sheet for this. So pow, we can all see that, can't we?
We can.
We can. So this gives you just like the sprue layouts and everything. Right. That's the first week's project there, doing the interior and everything.
Well, not just assembly, but painting of the interior, with all of those seats and all sorts of different colours. And
I mean, it could be argued that if you didn't want to kind of show all that, didn't want to use all that stuff, you could close all the doors and everything, and shut all the hatches, and you wouldn't have to worry about it.
I think that would be a crying shame.
It would be. It's you can see there how that whole thing is then enclosed by literally kind of like 4 body parts. Yeah, it's a bit like going out and buying something like one of those mini art tanks with interiors, but just doing it as a curbside model. Why would you want to do that? There we go. We're coming to the chassis, and my guess is, let's have a look. Not entirely sure. I think you probably could, by cutting and offsetting some of the wheels, you probably.
I'm just wondering whether or not the ends of the axles are balled, so that you can maneuver those around. It's difficult to tell from here from those instructions.
I don't think they are. I think they are just designed to kind of push fit in, but don't quote me on that.
No.
But as you say, then there's more and more things. I mean, what the R&D costs of this kit, I dread to think. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers in terms of the amount of detail. And it just goes on and on and on and on. So join us next year when we get to the end of this instruction sheet. But yeah, look at that. I mean, it's a big old model. Like I say, it's a big old model that's nearly 1 kilogram of plastic in the kit. It's absolutely ramped with detail.
And it normally that sort of model wouldn't really interest me because it's kind of a big box on wheels, but it's the coolest looking machine. Absolutely extraordinary looking thing. And presumably, I mean, you've seen the parts. It must be pretty big as well.
Yeah. It's
so
a big old thing.
A bit of size.
So we'll just quickly dive through onto the next one, which is, let me just call up the images here. Share screen, application window. Oops, lazy, wrong one. I've just called up the one we've just done. What an amateur! Let's try again.
I think it's a bit like that tonight.
It's been a long day, honestly.
Yes, it has.
Been a long day dealing with temperamental technology. We can see that, can't we? Jolly good.
Yes.
Let's go full screen and we can still see it. Excellent. This is the 72nd scale Triumph SA21 Growler. It's close to nearly 300 parts in this kit. There's a 72nd scale model. These aren't in order. I do apologise. Just shows you the the level of detail in a 72nd scale armor kit these days. I'm building this. I am going to be building this. So because again, it's not something that as a subject matter, kind of Russian ballistic missile launcher. I'm just like, yeah, okay. As soon as I saw the kit, I was like, no, I'm keeping this one. I'm building this one. Just absolutely ramped with detail again. For this is a 72nd scale kit. Remember, this isn't 35th scale. It is quite a large model as well. Again, almost about 0.5 kilograms worth of plastic in here. You can see the detail here on the launching tubes. Going to be some careful cleanup because they're molded in 2 halves, but nothing really untoward. Some lovely detail on the ends of the missile tubes as well. And oops, Daisy. Wheel hub detail, absolutely fantastic. You get rubber tires again, but I'm not particularly bothered about that. And these come in multiples as well. And with a bit of careful cleanup and scuffing and a bit of a sludge wash. Quite a comprehensive decal sheet for a 72nd scale armor kit. So there's a lot of stickers there to put on, which is a delight. You also get, in 72nd scale, you get a sheet of chrome. And the good thing about this is that once you've taken those bits out, you can keep the rest of it and still have some chrome to use on, on other models. You get a small sprue of clear parts, and these are just the general sprue arrangements. So that's the missile tubes. You get two sprues of this. General body parts with rudimentary engine detail, which we showed earlier on, but still, it's nice to have. And that's the rest of the body parts and the bits and pieces that make up the side parts. Now, unlike the Typhoon, this does have to be made up in individual segments because of the complexity and the shape of the body itself. But this is a big model, but close to 300 parts for a 72nd scale kit.
I mean, that's that's going to take a long time to put together. A long time to put together neatly. There is, yes.
But as you can see from the box art, it's a complex shape. I was going to say, ordinarily, something like this, I'd just be like, but no, it is really impressive, and I really am looking forward to building that because it's, as I said about the Phantom, is that sometimes you can have subject matter that doesn't interest you at all, but then as soon as you see the kit, you're just like, yeah, I want to build that. I want to build that purely as a modeling experience, even though I have no kind of great interest in the subject in itself. So
visually, I don't know how you're going to set yours up. I would definitely be building that with all the tubes down.
Oh no, I'm doing it a bit like folded wings.
I love the idea of it. That kind of. I think they look really purposeful when they're like that. With the missiles. But just building that thing and painting it, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with that because there's so much detail that you can bring out in that and accentuate all of those details. And we've
Yeah.
it's extraordinary how 72nd scale, small scale models have developed over the years with technology. Molding technology has allowed those kits to be hyper detailed for something so ostensibly so small.
I would say there are probably more parts and there is more detail in that little growler than there was in the original Dragon 35th scale Scud missile. With the MAS transporter, which I remember at the time everybody thought was amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
I built it at the time. I did think it was amazing. Blimey, that's the box for the Typhoon as well. Which honestly, it's absolutely heaving, and actually it's 372 parts on that. So.
Wow. So only a handful more parts in the 72nd scale kit than the Typhoon.
Zvezda really are knocking it out of the park these days.
Yes, indeed
they are. And again, I think the price for the the price for the Typhoon was around the £35 mark, and I think for the Growler, I think it is. I'm just having a quick look here. It's actually around the £25 mark, which again that's absolutely remarkable.
It is, and all of their kits are like that, aren't they? They're all incredible.
The Sherman was 26 quid, which I'd happily build another one of those. So I think we've got some other things to talk about, but we'll probably carry those over onto the Wednesday show because we don't want to keep these people. And thus far, the technology hasn't failed us. So I don't want to tempt fate and suddenly have everything break down.
Yes, although I'm starting to get you disappearing slightly at the moment. I'm not sure if that's across the board or if it's just my end.
It's the ghost story.
So I'm slightly concerned that this is all going to go horribly crashy.
Yeah. So any other business?
No, not at the moment. I think we can find something for Wednesday, can't we?
Well, we got some other kits that we still want to talk about for Wednesday, which include the Border Models 35th scale Messerschmitt 109G, and also Border Models Leopold, the Border Models Leopard as well. But we'll keep those for Wednesday night. We'll have a chat about then. So again, a big thank you to the hobby company for supplying these kits. We're very grateful to them, and as I say, we look forward to at some stage building a Phantom proper. I'm certainly going to be building that Growler and having my hands full for a short while, a long while. So I think that's it for tonight, isn't it?
It is. Yes. Thanks everybody for joining us and being patient with our
gremlins
experimentation and slight gremlins this evening. Yes, which we hope won't be present on Wednesday, because it's extremely disconcerting being this side of the camera and thinking, hang on a minute, this is not running the way that you want it. So thanks for bearing with us. Yes.
I'm actually wondering, have you done your an upgrade on your MacBook yet?
Yeah, everything's I don't know what it is. Yeah, so
mine hasn't. I need to do as soon as I finish for tonight. I usually, before I start a show, I always reboot the Mac just to
that's what I do.
And everything. When we were doing the Festival of Modelling back in November, I rebooted the Mac, and as it rebooted, it went, "All right, cheers, we'll do the update then." And I'm like, "No, we're going live." No, actually, I had to start the festival on the iPad while the MacBook was going through an hour-long update.
Always good when you're live for the whole day. Thank you very much, Apple. That's
I'm going to do the update once we finish tonight. I know I can't. I'm doing ghost stories in 15 minutes, so I'll do it later tonight.
Indeed. Yes, and hopefully I will actually have done some model making, which I'm supposed. As you can see, if I go that way, that's my bench currently. So yes, it would be good if I could actually get on with.
I have been doing some model making, and I have been. Oh, this is a joy. This has been an absolute joy. Very fiddly. And there are bits and pieces in the final finishing phase where I thought, I should have done that slightly differently. I should have left those lights off, quite frankly, until later on. But we are yet to get to the real weathering on this bit. So I just need to I need to whispers, gloss coat it, put the decals on. and then seal
Ridiculous.
it with satin varnish. Then I can actually get on with the weathering. It's got to be delivered in 4 days' time, but I'm rapidly turning to an even bigger mini art fan than I have been before. So but yeah, great fun with that. So anyway, on that note,
didn't it actually, along those lines, before we go, did somebody post up a photograph of a new mini art kit that we hadn't noticed? The it looked like a fruit and veg trolley.
Wasn't that or the champagne crates?
No,
I can't remember.
It was they've announced that they're doing a market trolley with fruit and veg on, and the pictures showed that they've got wooden boxes with actual fruit and veg.
We will have to have a look at that and report back to you all on Wednesday evening.
It's very impressive.
But yeah, really enjoying this project. Actually, by the time Wednesday evening comes, I'm going to be pretty much that close to kind of finishing it. So yeah, we will get around to doing some figure painting this week to try out all those fancy schmancy ideas we've been learning.
Yes, I was planning on doing that this weekend, but like I say, the line of duty took precedent over my desire to sit in here.
Yeah. On that note, thank you to everybody who turned up tonight. Bless you for watching this nonsense. It just remains for me to say we'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, stay safe, stay out of trouble. Good night from me.
Good night from him.
Good night.